Hi ladies, good afternoon and welcome to Thompson in Norfolk. We are today at College Farm, which is owned by Artichoke girl Katharine Wolstenholme and her ever-patient husband Richard. We're going to have a little wander around her gorgeous home and also have a look at her wedding venue and just have a general chat. Thompson is based in the Brecks. You can hear Mr. Figgis mewling, which is a beautiful part of Norfolk. It's not as well known as the coast. It stretches from basically the area of Thetford Forest, but it's a gorgeous part of the country that we all live in. I'm going to be behind the camera, so if you've got any questions for Katharine, shout and I will ask them for you. I'm just going to say a quick hello to Lorraine, Pat and Rosemary who are watching, and I'm just going to knock on the door and Katharine is going to go, ta-da! Katharine, hi!
Hello, welcome.
So, who have we got with you today?
I have Mrs. Hen who's come to say hello.
Well, Mrs. Hen is a very original name, isn't it? And Mr. Figgis is just about... Oh, no, Mr. Figgis is not in camera. He's being camera shy. So, Katharine, may I come in?
You may. I'll put Mrs. Hen down.
Oops.
And if you want to see Mr. Figgis...
This is Mr. Figgis. So, this is the company cat.
Who is my baby substitute, really.
Oh, he's absolutely
He
gorgeous.
thinks he's a person. He's terrified of chickens. He's looking away because he doesn't know the chicken's going in the kitchen. Right, I'm going to put you down, Mr. Figgis.
And we're going to go in. So,
Welcome.
this is the hallway, isn't it? Oh my gosh, Katharine, that wall is amazing.
So this is the original wall when the house was first built in 1349. This was the outside wall. It was a long, thin house built as a college of priests in 1349. This was one of the outside walls. And this bit of the house was built on in about 1520. The staircase is obviously new. My parents put that in the 70s. So this bit's 1520. So this then became an internal wall. And we exposed this about 5 years ago when we had a burst pipe in the attic and the whole of this half of the house completely flooded. And the plaster all sort of fell off, so we just stripped it off and left it, and we rather like it.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And guess what, Katharine? I have turned the sound up,
Yes.
but I've forgotten the script. 2 seconds. Let me go grab my bit of paper.
We'll just look at the wall while we're here.
We can read what we're actually supposed to be talking about. Not that this is staged at all. And remember to shout. You have to speak up.
I'll just shut this door a bit.
you
You
just
don't spare Richard.
Poor Richard.
He's probably on a Zoom call.
He's probably trying to do something
Paris.
important and we can't click.
He's earning money.
So Katharine, we met at a dinner party that was hosted by Les and Ness at Stratton's, didn't we?
Long time ago.
A long time ago, and we're both married to men who don't particularly like going out.
Quiet, strong men.
So they sat there and didn't say a lot for all evening, and we just gassed really,
We
didn't we?
haven't stopped since.
No, we haven't. So, yes, I can't think how long ago that was, but it must have. Do you think it's about 10 years ago now? You'd only just moved back here, hadn't you?
About 8 or 9 years ago. We moved back 10 years ago.
Right, so
about
it's
8 or 9
quite
years
soon
ago, yeah.
afterwards. And we've kept in touch since. And we've had some lovely times at the Wayland show, haven't we? Flogging cookery books.
And tea towels.
And tea towels.
And eating Rob's meat.
And eating Rob's meat,
The
yes.
delicious Rob the Pigman's meat.
And so today you are very graciously going to show you us even, your beautiful home. So we've seen the hall, and this is where the B&B guests...
So when they come, I open the door and they come into the hall, and then I either take them straight upstairs to their room, or they come into the dining room, where I give them, every day they get homemade cake and tea or coffee.
So shall we move into the dining room, yes?
Dining room.
I will just follow you, and then I'm just going to, we have to have the light behind us so that everybody can see this gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful panelled dining room. Can everybody see? Because my phone's very dirty. Oh, yes, we can see you. Yes, we can.
And you can even see here, if I move this light, that window that was in the hall. This is the back of it. It's a little secret cupboard.
Oh my goodness me.
So when the house was first built in 1349, this was the window. So this would be the outside wall with no panelling.
Right.
And that was a little window that went outside.
Oh, Karen Short saying it's beautiful. Do you still do afternoon tea, Katharine? Because Karen lives quite locally.
I do. I don't do them in the peak of summer when I'm full of B&B because I haven't got time to do both. And then I don't do either of them very well and then I get upset because I like to do it properly. But now that B&B is beginning to calm down, I'm certainly open again for tea.
Well, I can remember that I brought the kids for their
Yes.
treat, didn't I? I think it was the Easter holiday treat, and we had the most fabulous afternoon tea.
And I was in the middle of building work, so you had to have it in the corner surrounded by builders' rubbish.
And with your mother-in-law, which was
Yes.
absolutely super. Oh, Karen's saying she must come for afternoon tea.
Good.
That would be lovely. It's a great afternoon tea. You need to book, Karen. So we are in the dining room, which has the original Jacobean panelling. I'm just going to have a little squizzle
I
round.
don't know if you can see over the panelling, we have a coat of arms.
Is that yours?
Well, it's mine that I own it, but it's not my family.
So it's not your family's coat of
So
arms?
this is Mr. Futter.
Uh-huh.
And it's a double T, as my mother said you pronounce it very carefully. Mr. Futter
Uh-huh.
married Miss Bacon.
Uh-huh.
So when they got married, as we've all done, you put your joint coat of arms over the fireplace.
Well, of course.
And they got married at the end of the 1500s. So we can't date this exactly, but it's the end of 1500s, so it's either very late Elizabethan or early Jacobean. So I say Jacobean because I'm less likely to be wrong.
So how long has this house been in your family, Katharine? You will have to shout now because you're on the other side of the
Can
room.
I come closer?
Now you come closer, my dear.
The house was built in 1349
Yes.
by two brothers.
Uh-huh.
Just after the Black Death, and they built it to give thanks to God for all the members of their family that died and for the ones that survived. And in those days, if you built something big and showy off and fantastic, then God would help you go to heaven when your time came. So the two brothers built it, and one of them married one of my mother's ancestors. My mother's family moved into the next door village in 1300, and they married a family that had been there since at least 1000. So my mother always boasted that we were the oldest family in Norfolk. I don't know if that's actually true, but we're probably one of the less mobile families because we've lived in the same spot since either 1000 or 1300, whichever branch of the family you choose to come from.
So that's 1,000 years, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're still
Oh my
on the same,
God.
They're still on the same spot of land.
Gosh,
I think
that's
it's only-
amazing.
I think it's only the second house on that bit of land since 1300.
And then has it always been in your family, the house?
Well, yes and no. The house, when it was first built, was a college of priests. It was built with our local church, which is 5 minutes walk away, where we were married. So they were both built as a pair in 1349. Then in the mid-1500s, when Henry VIII came along and decided that monasteries and college of priests were no good anymore, he confiscated the house, so it was then given away to somebody else. And then roll on another 300 years, and in the mid-1800s, my mother's family had a small estate in Suffolk, and it was swapped with the family who lived here. They did, as one did in the 19th century, you swapped estate, so they swapped it. So it came back into the family in the mid-1800s, and was then had tenant farmers living in it. And my parents bought the house from the estate in about 1973. So although the house was built by our ancestors in 1349, my parents were actually the first members of the family to live in it.
And it was derelict, wasn't
It was
it?
beyond derelict.
So we've got some photos somewhere, haven't we?
Here.
This is something we prepared earlier, ladies.
Well, I had to get these out of the cupboard. So this is the hall where we came in. I don't know if you can
Oh
see
my
that.
God, yeah. Actually, if we twiddle
Yeah.
around here, I don't
Yeah.
think it'll be quite as shiny. That's better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this one, when my parents moved in, this was the only running water with a hole in the ceiling and a little bath.
So there was no electricity, no running water.
No, and a lot of rats.
Oh God! And were you alive at that point?
Unfortunately, yes.
So you lived here too
So
when it was derelict.
I moved here as a stroppy teenager, so you can imagine.
Oh God!
So
you lucky, and this was what you moved to.
So this is the porch, the front door that you came in at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you can see it had a lot of farm buildings that, when my parents sort of prodded them, they all fell down. And this was what's now our lovely walled garden. Can you see that?
Yes, no, that's fine, yeah.
Which is where people now have beautiful wedding ceremonies. It looks nothing
Oh,
like that
okay.
and above, you can just see there are 2 bricked-in medieval windows, which when we go upstairs in a minute, I can show you what they look like.
Oh, that's lovely, yes.
And this is the inside of those 2 windows.
Oh my God! So is this the bedroom we're going to go and see?
So this is the bedroom we're going to. This is Richard's bedroom, and my brother Richard is an eccentric historian.
Right.
And he knew, with the age of the house, that there had to be bricked up windows, so he started by hand, just chiselling away and finding.
Oh my goodness me!
And he also knew things like the ceiling here. When we moved in, there were just the 2 large beams in the middle. But he knew, because of the shape of the beams, you can work out the age of them and the expense of them. He said there had to be lots of smaller beams, so he went to the bedroom upstairs and made a hole in the ceiling and put his hand through.
And found these.
Found these other beams. Yeah, so that's just another picture of the front of the house, which looks pretty horrific.
And you have weddings here. So are you actually licensed to hold to be a proper wedding
We're
place?
a licensed wedding venue, so you can either get married in here, and we're allowed up to 20 people in here. What most people do is have the ceremony outside on straw bales or rugs or chairs or benches or whatever, sort of nice and rustic outside. Then they come in here to do the legal work, and then pop out onto the front lawn and have a lovely party.
So the weddings are quite low key. Do you have very posh ones here too? No.
We have lovely, low key, what my mother called hippie weddings.
Oh,
I
okay.
think now they're called rustic weddings.
Rustic. Are they bijou or are they rustic?
and then next year we're coming up a notch. We're converting a barn just across the drive. And we're going to have a barn which will hold about 75 people, and that's already been licensed.
Oh wow! I didn't realise that it was actually a wedding barn as well as a bijou hideaway.
So and next to the wedding barn we have a little bijou honeymoon suite, which is going to be an open plan little boutique honeymoon cottage.
Well, I'm not sure if the Wi-Fi will get that far, but we can just have a little peek later, can't we?
And also it's still a building site, so it doesn't look very good at the moment.
Oh, but it'll be gorgeous.
It's going to be stunning.
Well, Richard, Katharine's husband, is an architect, so he knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
And we've also had a lot of help from an interior designer in London whose grandmother grew up with my mother-in-law, and her father is best friends with Richard, and she's best friends with one of my children, so it's rather nice, 3 generations of the same family.
Oh, that's lovely.
And she's been giving us lots of good advice and helping us source materials and paint colours and things.
And she's helped you in the house as well. We can see that when we go up to the bedroom, can't we? Ladies, if you've got any questions for Katharine, ask away. This is also where you host events to raise money for the local church as well, because we've had supper here.
We do pop-up suppers, we do tea parties, we've had the odd cheese and wine, anything basically.
Actually, if you do live locally, there are 2 things to consider. The first is one of Katharine's pop-up suppers. Are you actually starting them again, or are you waiting till COVID really is a thing of the past?
We thought we'd wait till late autumn.
Okay.
Because I don't want people on top of each other if they're not comfortable.
No. So pop-up suppers happen throughout the year. Do they have a mailing list, or do they just telephone you and you'll put them down on a list?
I'd normally put it on Instagram, Facebook, and my website, on the church website.
Right, so you need to follow Katharine on Instagram and on Facebook, and that's at College Farm.
Instagram's at College Farm.
Yeah.
Facebook, I think, is College Farm Norfolk.
Oh, it is, yes, College Farm Norfolk. The website is
collegefarmnorfolk.co.uk.
And the other thing is the fabulous Lavender's Lunch, which is an annual event, isn't it?
Which we've just had a couple of weeks ago. We missed it last year, so it was our first one for 2 years, and it was fantastic. We had a record turnout. We had about 140 people.
Oh my gosh.
It was quite a lot of work.
Sadly, I was moving. So let's tell everybody about Lavender's Lunch, how it started, when it is.
It started about 30 years ago. My mother and another old girl in the village started it about 30 years ago to raise money for the church. My mother, although not very religious, was passionate about the church and raising funds for it, not just because her ancestors built it, but it's part of the history of the church and part of life. Everyone needs a church at some time in their lives, even if it's just to be buried in or have their funeral in. So she started about 30 years ago. It was very small, very local, pretty revolting, I'll say in the beginning. Simple fare. None not homemade, except the disgusting coronation chicken my mother made that was really revolting.
Well, yours is lovely, because coronation chicken is still served, isn't it?
It has to be served. So after my mother died 10 years ago, the village renamed it. It used to be called the church lunch, and they renamed it Lavender's Lunch, which I thought was rather sweet. So now we've gone up several notches with the food. There's a fabulous girl in the village called Annabelle who moved here about 8 years ago, and she is wonderful. You ask her to do anything, and she just does it. And she and I sort of run Lavender's Lunch. We decide all the food. There's another girl in the village, Sandy, who also helps. We make the menu. We make most of the food. We get a few donations given to us. We have it all on the front lawn, which you can't see now, but they're lovely pictures on my website.
I'll squizzle round. I'll just squizzle round so everybody can see the front lawn. And this is also where you can have your marquee if you want to have a marquee for the wedding, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now squizzle back. The grub's fabulous.
Yeah.
When is Lavender's Lunch? So everybody can put it in their diaries for next year now.
Lavender's Lunch is always the first Sunday in September every year.
And I thoroughly recommend it. I missed it this year
Yeah.
because I was
moving.
moving. Yes.
But you've been lots of times.
Oh yes. I've never since my first one. I've never missed one.
And what I love about it is, all the years we've had it, it's only rained once. It was moved into here and it was horrific, so I'm never doing that again. But that's the only time it's rained. It's always been good weather. The food is always amazing. People bring donations of food, raffle prizes. It's lovely. We sit outside on lots of different tables. We have horrifically bright tablecloths.
It's just a lovely, lovely day, isn't
it's
it?
Very relaxing. And this year was so nice. We had about a dozen new couples that came. You don't have to be a couple, but who have moved into the village in the last 2 years. They all came. They brought friends with them. It was amazing.
So that's a date for your diaries, ladies. If you're anywhere near the Brecks, the first weekend in September, come along to Sunday. Come along to Lavender's Lunch. This is where the B&B guests have their breakfast. Where do they sleep?
So when they arrive, so they come in here and have tea. I make cake every afternoon with B&B. So they come in and they have cake, tea and coffee. Normally in here, if it's a lovely day, it's outside. Very occasionally their bedrooms. Then they go upstairs to their bedrooms. And in the morning, breakfast is here. And because I only have 3 bedrooms, I never have more than 6 for breakfast. So at the moment, the table is big and spread out. So I had 3 couples yesterday morning, so they were all nicely spread out, so no one was on top of each other. Which I think, particularly as we're all being more aware of being separate and not sitting too close together.
No, that's a really good idea.
And then everyone gets their own pots of fruit, yogurt, whatever, so they don't share anything.
No, that's lovely.
So I try and do a little bit of sort of COVID management.
Oh, I think you do an excellent job. So, shall we go and see the bedrooms?
And I'll just take with me, which I meant to do before you arrived, I've just got a bit of washing to take up. This is not stage management. I spend a lot of time doing washing and ironing.
Well, as you can see, this is a very, very relaxed, place to stay.
Eco-ness is I don't have a dryer. Everything is dried outside all year.
I can't believe that.
It's amazing how you get enough wind and sun. But anyway, follow me with my washing.
So we follow you into the hall, back into the hall, and we're going up the stairs.
That my parents put in the 70s, made out of Dutch elm diseased wood.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a lot of Dutch elm disease in the 70s.
How do you keep it clean? Is it polished? Or is it...
Just very closely. It's not so clean.
God, you obviously don't have my husband and my kids.
My messy cat.
Right, so we're now on the landing.
So we come up the stairs. So this is the wing that was built on in 1520. That's my mother-in-law's ancestor who looks very grumpy.
And we're going through, which room are we going through into,
We're
Katharine?
going to go to Richard's room where my brother Richard used to sleep.
Oh, there's a little bit of an exposed thing up here. I can see what's up there.
So this is where my grown-up children still have rooms here.
Oh, okay.
They're up in the attic.
Okay.
They have steep stairs and no banisters to keep them fit.
And sober.
And I don't know if you can see, but none of the walls are straight, or they're all curved.
No, you can see that.
So that's the original medieval wall. It's a funny shape.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to swizzle round and just... Oh, this is absolutely gorgeous.
I'm just going to pop this in here.
So this is one of the B&B rooms, is it?
Sorry, you can't hear me on the camera.
So this is...
This is a little lobby outside one of the rooms.
Uh-huh. Oh, and this is the window.
This is an original medieval window that I showed you a picture of downstairs.
Yes.
This was all bricked up.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents exposed it. And the wall here, there was a wall across the middle of it. It was all higgledy-piggledy.
And this little room here...
This little room was my bedroom when I was a child.
Uh-huh.
But it's now my favourite room. It's my laundry
Your
room.
laundry room. My God, you've got so much laundry, Katharine.
You have to. When you've got 3 B&Bs.
I suppose
Plus
you
all
do.
of us.
Yes, no, there are 1 or 2 of you as well.
Yeah.
And you got rid of your guests last year, but
Yes.
your family came home. So actually, you've run an unpaid B&B
So
for about 18 months.
Last year, we went, normally I'm on my own in the week, because pre-pandemic, Richard used to travel all week. And then the pandemic came, Richard came home. We hadn't lived together full time for 25 years, which was interesting. The 3 children all came home, 2 boyfriends came home. So suddenly from being on my own all week with a couple of B&B, there were 7 of us. It was a lot of work. It was fabulous having them home, but it was a lot of work with suddenly 7 grown-up mouths to feed. So I spent all day cooking. I didn't do any cleaning or washing, they had to do that themselves. There was a lot of cooking, a lot of baking bread actually, which I really enjoyed.
You're very, very good at baking bread and cakes. If you have a look at Katharine's Instagram account, it's always got bread and cakes on it.
And cats.
And cats. And chickens. I'm just going to have a little look at this. So, I take it you didn't buy these as a job lot. They are actually your family. You didn't. What do people buy? During lockdown, they were buying sort of old books, weren't they? And pretending.
And we've got plenty of old books.
And we got plenty of old books. So this is
Richard's room.
So Richard.
Richard as in my brother, not my husband.
Right. So
Just to confuse people.
so I'm just going to squizzle round so that everybody can see. This room is absolutely gorgeous, Katharine. It is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Did you do the decor? Did you do all the decor yourself?
No, this room we redid after our flood about 5 years ago. With this wonderful girl, Harriet Nichols in London, whose family and our family have known each other forever. And she's a young interior designer in London, and we didn't know what to do, so she was very good. She came up and she gently coaxed us into having something quite bold, but actually fabulous. I love it.
It is absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
I would never have chosen any of this. And when we were painting it, I used to come in here and practically cry and say, my God, this is the worst thing we've ever done. We made a terrible mistake. And she was very good. She said, just wait till you're finished. If you don't like it, you can paint it all white again afterwards.
It's very brave, isn't it?
And then when it was finished...
It's really trendy now, though. It's all the youngsters have got this blue colour, haven't they?
Very trendy here.
There you are. And what about the bathroom? You've got a rather lovely
yes,
bathroom
we've
as
got a
well.
So come into the bathroom. So this is my best. Well, this is the best room in my.
So this is the posh room.
This is often my bridal suite. My superior room.
This is absolutely gorgeous, and I can see that you like supporting
Local business.
businesses because these are.
It's called Norfolk Living. It's made up on the coast. Or Natural Norfolk Living. It's nice to get the name right. Norfolk Natural Living up on the coast.
This is absolutely gorgeous, Katharine. I might come and stay.
And that's almost local. I bought the swan from Wickham Vineyards.
Oh, yes.
Leaping Hare.
Leaping Hare is lovely, isn't it?
I bought it as a Christmas decoration a few years ago, and I managed to keep it up in the drawing room for about 9 months before Richard noticed. And then one day he said, I don't like that in here, can we move it? So I put it here where it gives me a lot of pleasure.
It's absolutely lovely.
He hates it and I love it.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And then I've done other naughty things. A mirror I bought from an East Anglian business, not a Norfolk one. someone who used to sell antiques. You could buy her furniture from her house.
Uh-huh.
And I saw the mirror years ago and I said, is it for sale? So she said, no, not at all. And then about 6 months later, she rang me up and said, it's for sale, but you have to come tomorrow. So I drove down to collect it. I didn't ask her what it cost. I brought it up here, got the builder to put it up. And then she gave me a very large bill afterwards.
God.
But it's worth every penny, I love it.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, impulse buy, you need to impulse buy your furniture and your clothes. You need to buy things you love, don't you?
Yeah.
Whether it's clothing or furniture
Or
swans. I don't believe in all this planning malarkey, because then you end up with stuff that you don't particularly want, but you've bought it just to fit in with whatever you're trying to do in the room or in your wardrobe. So, what other questions have we got to ask you here? We're going to go down to your garden next. So how many rooms have you got, Katharine, that people can actually come and stay in?
3 bedrooms. So this is Richard's room, which is my brother Richard, which confuses people because my husband Richard and they always wonder why they're sleeping in his room. And then Edward's room, which is my smallest, where my brother Edward slept. And the other one is the spare room, which in my parents' day was the spare room for when they had guests to stay.
Uh-huh. And how much would it cost somebody? Filthy lucre time.
That's important. So this is my superior room. This is 150 a night for 2 people, and you get homemade tea and cake when you arrive, or every afternoon, and full English breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
And the other 2 rooms are 130.
And if we're going to whistle downstairs, remember we're doing Vogue, darling. Remember we're doing Vogue. Keep on the move.
Sorry.
So, if they come to Thompson...
Or can you get out if you can't, if the internet's not really good,
Oh.
camera out the window.
But can we see the pingo? I don't know.
No,
We're now, ladies, going to shove the camera out the window
Can you see out
to
there?
see if we... No, we can't see the pingo. We've got to go and stand outside the front door. So for those of you who don't live in Norfolk, you are about to see a pingo, which you'll have to Google. We will let you Google. It's a natural pond, isn't it? Caused by glaciers or something.
When the last ice age melted.
And you can only get pingos in Breckland, not even in Norfolk, just here in the Brecks. Can you go out that way?
And the Arctic tundra.
Oh, I didn't realise there's the Arctic tundra as well. So, if you come to Thompson, what can you do here?
A lot of walking, bird watching. I don't know if you can see.
So, I don't know how far away I can go without losing you, but I'm just going to go down. Can you see, ladies, there's a bit of a pond down here. That's not a pond. It's a pingo, and it was actually made by the monks into a carp pond, wasn't it? I'm going to go back to the Wi-Fi. I don't think they have this problem in Vogue.
This is Norfolk. So when the house was built in 1349, there was a pingo at the bottom, and the monks turned it into a rectangular carp pond. And the fascinating thing about it is we drained it about 8 or 9 years ago just to see if there's anything in it and get all the muck out. And it's a long, thin pond. That end, the south end, is very narrow and a perfect rectangle and deep and steep. And then it comes down to the north end, and as it comes down north, it slightly widens and it comes up to a shallow beach. And apparently that end is technically called the beach. So it meant the monks could push the fish up one end and catch them, and poor things eat them for their supper. I mean, carp is disgusting. I don't know if
It's
you've
very
ever-
bony, isn't it? Is it?
They're hideous to look at and hideous to eat.
But you have put quite a lot back in there for some reason, best known to yourself.
Because it's a carp pond.
And now they're all just living there at the bottom.
Having a lovely
Oh God, they're
free-range
probably
life.
some eco fish that we're all supposed to live on now, aren't they?
I'm not eating a carp.
No?
I'd rather go vegetarian.
Okay. Oh my God, you are saying something.
I'm not going vegetarian.
So, weddings are here as well?
Yes, we often have the ceremony in here, which looked beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm biased, but it does look lovely. With my fantastic sculptural dead tree.
Yeah, I've got one of those.
And what I love about this being sentimental, when we got married and had our reception here, we posed in front of the dead tree.
Uh-huh.
It was just about
Was
nice.
it dead then?
It was just it was hanging on.
Was
We
it?
were like,
Oh no.
and there was a little brick wall at the end, which has since fallen into the pond, and we sat on the wall and had terrible pictures taken by a local photographer. They're all very local and simple, or cheap, I should say.
No.
So we had all our formal pictures taken in here. and I love it, the fact that now when people get married, they come in here, they have their pictures taken in front of the flower bed where we were, in front of the lovely tree.
That's lovely.
And it's very romantic.
And you do have a bit of a crew to help, don't you? So if people need florists,
yes, I've got a list of
photographers, cake makers, caterers, you've got
Absolutely.
a list, haven't you?
I've got a list, and there's been a bit of controversy recently about lists. Some venues are asking for commission from their suppliers. I've never taken commission, because then I can give you a completely honest opinion of anyone that I recommend and tell you exactly what I think about them. And if I don't like them, I don't put them on my list.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, so it's an honest. The only bribe I've had from one of them, one marquee company, once gave me a packet of chocolate biscuits.
Oh, well, I think you
I
think that's... So shall we go and have a little look at the new wedding venue? Yeah, well, I think I can stand near the door, can't I? And then we can just vaguely see it.
I'll just shut this so it doesn't bang. I can show you my romantic porch, I call it.
Oh, that's lovely. Tracy's watching as well. We're going to go around Tracy's... Tracy has Boutique Hideaways. She's just finished converting her, so we're going to do her next.
But if you come here and look at the porch, I don't know if you can see, so the bricks for the porch come from Stowe Beacon Railway Station, which until Dr. Beecham came was a couple of fields across there. And this was the railway station that my parents left from when they got married. And the little barley sugars that come around the middle of the porch come from my mother's childhood home. She was brought up in the Battle area. And this was the house where she was brought up. And I think quite romantically, where my father also spent most of his childhood. They grew up together because my father's parents were abroad a lot in the army. So they literally spent their entire lives together. And I like that I call this my romantic porch because this was on my mother's childhood home. When my parents got married, they posed under this arch.
That's lovely.
They had their wedding pictures taken there, and this comes.
Katharine likes weddings.
I like it, but I also like romance, and I like this sort of connection with my parents.
You'll have to connect. Hang on, no, we've reconnected. I think we have to get a bit back nearer the Wi-Fi.
I open the door.
We'll get back into the Wi-Fi, and then we can talk about the battle area, and then we'll just perhaps go and have a little look. Oh no, we've got to stay here for a bit till it's completely re-established. So if we just have a little chat about the battle area. I'm going to come behind the lights behind you. Yeah, no, that's lovely.
So the battle area is across another couple of fields over that way, and it's now a huge army training area that was taken over during the Second World War for the army to borrow everything. That's poor Richard trying to hide and get out of the way, sneaking off with a packet of biscuits and a cup of tea. If you come in here, then he can sneak back into his office.
Sneak back into his office.
Going back into your office? Go that way.
The trusty assistant's not allowed in the video.
He's the secret face spy. So the battle area was owned by my grandfather, well not all of it, about half of it, and it was borrowed by the army during the Second World War, and he was very much that generation. He was born in 1870 or something like that. So he was very much the generation where you do everything for king and country, and if they want something, you give it to them. So he said, of course you can have many thousands of acres, borrow it for the war, and then give it back to us afterwards. And it's a well-known, well-documented story. All the poor villagers had to move out with a few days' notice, literally a few days' notice, and they were all told that their houses would be untouched. They just packed everything up, left them as they were, moved all their animals, went and bumped up with cousins, friends, family, pretty uncomfortably, squashed up with people for the duration of the war, expecting to go back straight afterwards. And of course, after the war, then the Ministry of Defence comes along and says, well, thank you very much, it's worth £1 an acre, we'll give you 6pence an acre. And they took it, and it's belonged to the army ever since. But actually, speaking selfishly, we would never have inherited it, and it's now the most fantastic wildlife reserve. It's got wonderful, wonderful things on there that you don't get anywhere else. It's got rare birds, rare plants, all sorts of things. It's untouched.
But it's not easily accessed, is it? You have to have permission to actually access the battle area. But I believe that you can still visit some of the churches on Christmas Eve, can't you?
At Westhoffs, they have a fantastic service, normally about a week before Christmas, carol service, which is amazing. And that church was also decorated by Pugin when he was a very young architect.
Oh, I didn't realise that.
He was the architect who did the Houses of Parliament.
Oh my God, I had no
He
idea.
used to come up here as a young student, and whoever lived there at the time said, "Oh, you know, you're a young chap, why don't you come decorate our church?" And for a little village church in the middle of nowhere, it's incredible. I mean, it really is worth it. If I don't know how you find out about the service, just Google Westhoff's Christmas
Oh, I think
service.
I will, because I quite like to go.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And actually Westhoff's is quite near me. Right, we're just going to see if we can actually get out the door and maintain the Wi-Fi long enough.
If it doesn't work, we can hang out the dining room.
Okay, right, well let's just see if we can get out and just have a squint at the new wedding venue and where the... So what were you going to call your bijou hideaway, Katharine?
So I don't know if you can see, so there's a brown,
Yep.
the tall building
Yes.
is going to be my party barn, and that's called a cattle shed.
Uh-huh.
Because a man called William Tooke Harwood a couple of hundred years ago was an agricultural reformist. Apparently he was a very good man, and he was one of the people that pioneered bringing cattle inside during the winter. Whereas
Right,
before
I
that
didn't
they used to
know
be
that.
outside. And you probably can't see, but it's got the initials W. Oh shush. It's got
Yes,
the
they have? Yeah. Oh, I don't know if I'll make it go
WH.
nearer. Let's
They may
see.
not.
Yes,
You
no, they
just
can.
see.
Yeah, no, I'm going
So
to...
WH for William Tooke Harwood.
I don't really know what I'm
There,
doing
you
here.
just
Yeah.
see. So that's going to be my big party barn. It's got a couple of loos, a shower.
Can't make it smaller. I've made it smaller
Don't
now.
worry. It's got a couple of loos, shower, little mini kitchen. And then to the right of it, on the single story bit, that's going to be my little bijou boutique cottage.
Not self-culture accommodation, which is what you thought it was, till your children put you right.
So that's going to be a lovely open... Oh, really? Sorry, Mr. Vickers needs attention. That's going to be a lovely open plan little boutique cottage. It's going to have a kitchen, dining area, sofa, a couple of armchairs, a little ottoman in the middle. And then I'm very excited, I've got this from stalking other people on the internet. It's going to have a little tall bed head made out of like a big wooden unit. So from the living side, it just looks like a unit behind the sofa. Can't say unit, can I? Piece of furniture. And then if you go behind it, it's like a big bed head. And it hides the bed, so you can either, if you're on the bedroom bit, you don't see all the living.
Oh, how
If you're
brilliant.
on the kitchen and sitting bit, you don't see the bed.
That's amazing.
It's going to have a big 6-foot bed. I'm aiming for romantic weekends away. And then at the end of the bed, a nice big freestanding bath. And then right at the back, I'm going to have a bathroom. Sorry about this child substitute.
No, wants his mummy.
The biggest loves his mummy.
Well, that's absolutely brilliant, Katharine. So, thank you so much for sharing your gorgeous home with us. I'm just going to repeat where people can find more information. So you are College Farm Norfolk on Facebook, College Farm Instagram, and College Farm Norfolk online. 3 bedrooms. All the details are on the website, aren't they? Absolutely gorgeous home. Thank you so much, Katharine, for sharing it with us.
Thank you very much.